On to the next bit of news, of course. Apparently, Conor McGregor is full speed ahead with his fight camp for UFC's White House card, even though he's not got an opponent and he's not got a date yet, because the White House card could be in May or could be in June. I think it'll be in June, honestly, but it might be in May. The sooner the better for Conor McGregor, because, of course, he's still very excited. He's still very motivated. Since the last time we talked about Conor, he's not stopped talking about the fact that the White House card is his main goal right now. And he is still very much active. Apparently he's waking up very early most mornings, which is very different for Conor McGregor, who has not got the same lifestyle as he used to when he was training full stop and full time. So this must be very bizarre for him to go back into full-time training, if you can call it full-time training, of course. But he says that he is full steam ahead. His coaches are making a plan for him. Of course, he asked his coaches to plan out his training camp until the UFC White House card. So they have quite a bit of time until then. We're, of course, hearing that it might be Michael Chandler, as was supposed to be in the first place, for them to finish their story and for them to finish their season of The Ultimate Fighter. But I don't think the UFC will find that a very interesting matchup for the White House. I mean, Conor's a big name. Conor's maybe the biggest name that's going to be on this card if he makes it to the White House. But I don't see them saying, I want to put him against Chandler. I mean, they may be able to play on the whole Chandler being American thing, Irish-American, sort of rivalry. But I don't see the UFC being that excited to put him against Michael Chandler, honestly. And I'm kind of getting the impression that Michael Chandler, seeing as we've not seen him back in the octagon since he last fought against Paddy Pimblett and lost via TKO, I'm not hearing him saying, oh, I'd like to fight this person or that person. I think Paddy really did do a number on Michael Chandler, and I think that Michael says to himself now, I'm going to wait it out until I get a big fight, a big name, and if I have to wait another year until Conor is able to come back into action, I prefer that than going back into the octagon and getting hammered again. But I hope he's not waiting for nothing, at least. But anyway, Conor McGregor is full steam ahead, and this is a very surprising turn of events since, of course, the UFC White House card has been announced. But, the same can be said for Jon Jones. They heard about the card. They were just like, I need to be on that card. I'm going to get back in the gym. I'm going to get slim. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to get ready. And it just gave them some extra motivation that I just didn't know either Jon Jones nor Conor McGregor, especially Conor McGregor, had in the tank. So, if the UFC don't put either guys in on the UFC's White House card, at least that, thanks to the UFC, both guys would have got back into shape and back in the good books. Let's get into kickboxing a little bit. The most important bit of news recently that came up was, of course, that Rico Verhoeven, the Glory heavyweight champ, who has been champion for so many years, exactly 4,100 days as champion, has vacated his title. That comes after him rumouring to be in discussion with a few combat sports organisations, including, of course, the UFC, for potentially a new contract elsewhere than Glory. Now, I would love to see, of course, Rico come to the UFC. I think anyone would love to see him come to the UFC. I don't know if he'll be a heavyweight in the UFC because his body does not look as heavyweight as some of the heavyweights on the UFC roster. He may go down to light heavyweight to join fellow Glory kickboxing fighter Alex Pereira, but I'm not sure because, of course, as a heavyweight in kickboxing, in Glory kickboxing, he may stay at heavyweight. But in any case, he's already rolled around the mats with Tom Aspinall. He's already done quite a few grappling sessions with Tom, and he often does help some UFC heavyweights with their fight camps with the kickboxing and boxing aspect of his amazing skills. So for Rico Verhoeven to come to UFC, that would be amazing, but he'll obviously go where the heart tells him to go and where the money tells him to go, because Rico Verhoeven is a big name. So of course the UFC, if they want him to come to the UFC, they're going to have to propose quite a bit of money. If they don't give enough money, he may jump ship to somewhere else. So I wouldn't want to see Rico go anywhere else in the UFC personally, and I hope that the UFC propose the right numbers and the right conditions to get him to the UFC. But he did vacate his belt suddenly. People did not expect him to vacate his belt after 4,100 days as champion of the heavyweight division in Glory kickboxing. So this may mean that the contract is being signed as we speak, or very soon the contract will be signed, because vacating at the last minute without any notice means that something has shifted and something has changed for him to want to do that. So very excited to see and follow this story up. I'll let you guys know if I hear any more about Rico. And let me know what you guys think of Rico Verhoeven, and will you be happy if he comes to the UFC one day? Last bit of news before I wrap up this episode of the podcast is on Gable Steveson. Gable Steveson, of course, is the protégé and student of the GOAT of the MMA community, Jon Jones, of course, and he was back in MMA action on the 23rd of November. Yeah, Anthony Pettis, FC 21, first round KO as you usually do right now. Of course, this means he could be one step closer to the UFC, and he last was seen at Dirty Boxing where he got a first round KO over his opponent, of course, with the Dirty Boxing rules. And before that, he got his first MMA win at the LFA with, of course, Jon Jones in his corner, first round KO, heavyweight, heavy hitter. Now, will he have to go through UFC's Dana White Contender Series? I don't think so. I think that with the potential he has of stepping up into the UFC's heavyweight division and getting some wins in, even without going through Dana White's Contender Series, and of course with Jon Jones as your main coach, I think the UFC may make a slight exception for Gable Steveson and let him come in without auditioning for the role. So this could be the next step for him. And if he doesn't sign with the UFC after this win, then we will most definitely see him again at Dirty Boxing. May see him fight another MMA fight after that as well. And at that point, I think he'll be ready to go to the UFC. And I think maybe he'll say to himself, when am I going to the UFC? Because I've won enough fights now, guys. Please. Let me know if you guys watched the fight so I can know what you guys thought of it. In any case, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, of course. Stay in contact with me on social media. I'm, of course, on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, X. So do not hesitate to send me messages, comment, subscribe, like, follow, all that good stuff. And we'll be back next week with another video, podcast episode, whatever you like. And of course, we'll be back for UFC 323 when we next talk about a big card, of course. So a lot of great things to look forward to. In the meantime, of course, have a nice week. Bye.